Runnin with MJD, starring fantasy football legend Maurice Jones-Drew, exclusively on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio.
You know, Maurice, if Ryan Bauer, rotogrinders.com, keeps it up over the final, 4 weeks of the regular season, right, and he continues the steady track record that he's shown us over the last 2 weeks, maybe in 2016 we'll get Phil Backer to produce like a little intro for the power plays. How do you feel about that? Be nice, right?
Might be all right.
You don't earn that after 2 weeks, however, right? We got to keep dangling the carrot out in front of him, so we keep getting the good plays.
He has to be humble. Be humble, young man. Be humble.
I don't care if it's humble or not, as long as he hits. Ryan Bauer joins us, rotogrinders.com. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Well, man, we like, I got the sheet in front of me. I told you we're going to hold you to it every single week. And, you had some hits, you had some misses, but a lot more big-time hits on some of the guys you absolutely loved last week. You missed on Matt Ryan. I know you got some grief on Twitter over that, but your top quarterback last week was Cam, and he came through in a big way. You like David Johnson. You love Buck Allen. He got the 35 fantasy points. McCoy got it done again. D'Angelo Williams seems to do it every week. Allen Robinson was one of your top plays last week. Devontae Parker, Doug Baldwin again, getting it done. So kudos, man. Good job once again.
Thank you.
All right, Maurice, where do you want to jump in? What position you want to start with?
Let's start off with wide receiver this week. I need some help. Let me know.
Okay, so at wide receiver, we're looking at Antonio Brown. I'm not even going to get into why. I'll just say this. 3 of his last 4 games, he's had over 30 points. But an interesting play at wide receiver this week is A.J. Green. Went off for 11 receptions, 118 yards last time playing the Steelers, and he had a touchdown in that game. It was a pretty low-scoring game as well.
Very low-scoring,
for him to put that up in that type of game was, phenomenal. And he's still averaging 9 targets a game. And at his price point on FanDuel, I think a lot of people will go towards Allen Robinson, even though he didn't have the greatest matchup last time while playing against Vontae Davis. So, and from there, we'll go now to Brandon Marshall. Last week, we were on the wrong side of the 2 Jets wide receivers. I mean, Eric Decker had a good game, double-digit fantasy points, but Brandon Marshall went absolutely off. Titans have no answer for big physical wide receivers, and just ask Allen Robinson that. And Brandon Marshall also has 10 touchdowns this year.
Hey, let me ask you, Ryan.
We'll go down to value a little bit lower.
Yeah,
I like
Ryan.
Tate this week.
Ryan.
But before you do, let me just jump in real quick, because you mentioned Allen Robinson. My thought with Vontae Davis, what are your thoughts about maybe sliding over to Allen Hurns this week? Because a lot of people will be chasing those Allen Robinson points.
I like that play. If Allen Hurns is fully ready to go, I know he's been practicing all week. So I like that. I wouldn't do that in my cash games. I wouldn't touch that really much in the double-ups and head-to-heads. But in tournaments stacked with Blake Bortles, I think that could really be beneficial. And I know Allen Hurns' last game against the Colts had a huge game. I think 115 and a touchdown last time playing the Colts.
Right. All right. So I interrupted you. You were getting ready to talk about Golden Tate a little bit here.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get back to Golden Tate. He has double-digit fantasy points in 3 straight, and he has 7+ receptions in those games. And as we all know, the Lions cannot run the ball. So they're going to be, even with the lead, they're going to be forced to pass the entire game.
Okay. All right. So those are some of the guys you like. You know what I didn't do? I didn't write all these down because they all sounded like such good options. All right. Run them down. Cycle back through them real quick for me. You had, obviously, Antonio at the top. You had the Jaguar wide receivers, right? A.J., okay.
Brandon
Marshall, that's right. Tate.
And Golden Tate.
All right, I got you. Now I'm on point here. All right, let's get to running backs this week. Let me get your thoughts first on Sean Drone, who is at 6,500, for instance, on FanDuel, continues to get a heavy volume and has a pretty good matchup this week. What do you think?
I mean, say no more. The heavy volume is what we love. That's what we all love for fantasy running backs. It's kind of shifted the last 4 or 5 years. Everyone's kind of split. But Sean Drone is the man. 5 receptions in 3 straight, 4 straight double-digit points, and playing a soft Browns rush defense who's allowing 120 yards this year in the past 2 games. I'm sorry. So I love Sean Drone.
How about what do you think about Rawls this week going against Baltimore? Is he a big play for you, or is he just a no-brainer?
I I like Rawls. He's actually not on the place this week. I just kind of a gut feeling. I don't know how well Seattle's going to come out. They've been on the road for 2 straight weeks. It's just kind of a gut call. We're going to go somewhere else around that price point.
All right, so fade Rawls a little bit here. Who are some of the running backs you like in addition to Drawn then?
Okay, let's start with LaShawn McCoy. I mean, we'll call it revenge gate. This guy's got 7 straight games of double-digit fantasy points, averages 3 receptions a game. Carlos Williams is out again, which means another huge game for LaShawn McCoy and big workload. And we'll go to Doug Martin. I think everyone's going to be much higher on Winston and Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson and really target the Saints' passing game. But the Saints are getting up 120 yards on the ground per game, and Martin's averaging 140 in his last 3 games, and he's still getting receptions. And I think the Bucs may play with the lead and may lean on Doug Martin, who has been phenomenal this year.
All right, give me a cheaper alternative. Give me somebody, kind of out of the blue. If you're trying to differentiate your lineup in a big contest, give me a running back kind of down a little bit more inexpensive that you like.
Okay, well, Ronnie Hillman. It looks like C.J. Anderson's iffy. Ronnie Hillman was named the starter today, and as we all know, with Brock Osweiler now the quarterback, it's turned into a run-first team. They get on the goal line. It's not Peyton Manning checking down, doing this, changing the play 8 times. They want to run it right down your throat. And if C.J. Anderson is out, I think Ronnie Hillman becomes a phenomenal play this week, especially at a good price point.
Tell us about quarterbacks then.
Okay, so quarterbacks this week, we're going to start with Big Ben. I mean, we won't go too deep in him. Everyone knows he's been playing out of control 4 straight games, 20 fantasy points, averaging 410 yards his last 2 games. And the Bengals are missing Pac-Man Jones, and Vegas has the total really high. So I love Big Ben this week, especially in the cash games. And we're going to go to the man in Jacksonville, Blake Bortles.
Homer.
Over 50 fantasy points his last 2 weeks. He scored 20 points last time he faced the Colts, and they're allowing basically about 300 yards per game to the quarterback. And Vegas has another high total on this game.
Ryan, let me ask, how sad is it that Blake Bortles not only broke, but has already shattered the single-season touchdown record in Jacksonville? How sad is it that for 20 years the high watermark was 23 touchdown passes for that franchise?
Oh, yeah. It crushes me, and even on another level, because I idolized Mark Brunell growing up. I mean, number 8 on every baseball, soccer, football jersey I had till I was probably about 14, 15 years old was because of him. So I'm glad to see a UCF alum break it, but he kind of broke my superhero growing up. Smart. All
right, well, so you got Ben, you got Bortles. Give us one more QB you're high on this week.
So Tyrod Taylor. Eagles have given up 14 passing touchdowns the last 3 games. He's back-to-back games over 25 points. And, he's going to help you get those extra points by running. He'll get you those 20, 30, 40 yards, per game rushing. And, as we know in fantasy, he gets a rushing touchdown. That's 6 points instead of 4. He's very capable of doing that.
I had a question earlier today. Somebody called in about Gary Barnidge versus Heath Miller. And I'm looking at your article right now on rotogrinders.com. I know you like Barnidge, and that was my initial inclination. And then I looked, and Phil looked up the numbers, and Heath Miller had gone for 10 catches for whatever amount of yardage more. We were talking about this in the first hour.
Right.
Here. You like Barnidge. What do you think about Heath Miller this week?
Okay, so Heath Miller, to me, he kind of has a low floor. I'm looking at his last 3 games. It's 7 points, 6 points, 4.7 on FanDuel. It's just he's not one of my favorite players, especially with all the weapons on that team. You got D'Angelo Williams, you got Martavis Bryant, you got Antonio Bryant, and now you got Marcus Wheaton, who all of a sudden is becoming like Martavis Bryant of last year. He's kind of coming out of nowhere and just getting touchdowns, yardage. So I don't know if there's enough ball to go around for Heath Miller. So what we'll do is we'll pivot from Heath Miller, and at that price point, what I said last week, I like Benjamin Watson.
Okay.
And, he gave us a touchdown and it looks well. Cooks is going to be there this week, but the Saints don't really have anyone to get the ball too often in the backfield, so I think they're going to be forced to throw even more. I mean, Breed might throw over 60 times this game. The guy throws about 40, 45 times a game. So I think Benjamin Watson, with the targets, with the volume, and potentially being somewhat of a shootout game, could give us really high value, and I think a better play than actually Heath Miller.
Well, we've got Ryan Bauer. Rotogrinders.com is where you can read his weekly Ryan Bauer Power Plays, his blog there at Rotogrinders. And let me just recap here, Maurice, for people who may be in the car listening, they can't write them down as we go. And let me know if I missed anybody, Ryan. At quarterback, you like Roethlisberger, you like Bortles, you like Tyrod this week. At running back, Sean Drawn, LaShawn McCoy, Doug Martin, Ronnie Hillman, and you're fading a little bit on Thomas Rawls this week, so I've got that circled. Wide receivers, Antonio Brown, either Jags starting wide receiver, A.J. Green, Brandon Marshall, Golden Tate, and at tight end, Barnage and Ben Watson. Is there any other position, any other guy at any position that you'd like to highlight before we let you get out of here tonight?
So as a complete tournament play, guy has 30-point upside, is a running back, Lamar Miller.
Okay.
The Giants' run defense is pretty weak. And, he scored double-digit fantasy points when getting double-digit touchdowns every game this year. The guy can catch the ball out of the backfield, and the Giants are giving up 6 receptions a game. I think the Dolphins coaching staff, how much it's changed all year long. What's been consistent is if you give the ball to Lamar Miller enough times, the guy's going to get you 100 yards. He's going to get you a touchdown. He's going to get you the production you expect out of someone of Lamar Miller's caliber. So I think Lamar Miller is a big tournament player. I think he'll be pretty low owned as well. Maurice,
you got anything else before we cut Ryan loose tonight?
No, that's it, man. I thought you did a good job. Keep it up, bro.
Top to bottom, a lot of guys to take a look at, and that's not the complete list, by the way. Go to rotogrinders.com and look for Ryan's blog there. But the easiest way to find it is to follow him on Twitter and just look at the link in his profile. That'll take you right to all of his articles there at Rotogrinders. The Twitter handle is Bauer Power Plays, B-A-U-E-R for Bauer Power Plays, just like you'd expect it to be spelled. Bauer Power Plays, B-A-U-E-R Power Plays on Twitter. Ryan Bauer. All right, let's make it 3 winning weeks in a row, brother. We put that carrot out there, man. We're trying to get you your own intro for this segment.
That would be awesome. And one more thing before I go.
Yeah.
When you're setting your lineups out there, guys, make sure you take into effect weather this week when you're putting in those kickers on FanDuel. I know the Bears game it's already projected 20-mile-an-hour winds. So, make sure you look into that before, setting your roster for kickers. Even some wide receivers, Alshon Jeffrey could be affected by a game like that with 20, 25-mile-per-hour winds.
Wind is the one thing that I'm concerned with, Maurice, when it comes to the weather impacting my fantasy output.
He's all over it right now, man. He's talking about weather reports.
He's breaking it down. He's got 25-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 30, I think, he had to that level if you check out the blog at Rotogrinders. Ryan, have a terrific Week 14, and we look forward to going head-to-head with you coming up in the weeks ahead and seeing what you got to offer in Week 15. Knock him out of the park this week. We appreciate the time tonight, man.
Hey, sounds great. Thank you, guys. I'll speak to you next week.
All right, Ryan Bauer, Bauer Power Plays on Twitter, and you can read him at rotogrinders.com. He has had a good 2-week run, 2 Raw on Xbox Live.
He's been doing a good job, man. This guy, we talked about it each week. We talk about him after the games on Sunday. And then we rehash him on Monday and how he did, and then we just kind of go from there. And he's doing a good job. This guy's really putting his heart and effort into this because this is something he really wants to do. So I think people helping people, Mike, is a beautiful thing.
It's all coming together right now, isn't it? We're just all rising tide lifts all boats, Maurice, and many other cliches that I could spit out right now. All right, coming up at the top of the hour, we've got the Sirius XM Fantasy Drive.